Hi guys, I recently did a video about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that's happening again, and I said I was going to do some more news sort of things, more important movie news or things like that, and it's a shame I had to do this one as a follow-up because, yeah, this is something I had to talk about. Just, being a huge fan of horror movies, and pretty much my entire channel has become big because of horror movie reviews. So I just thought this was something I had to talk about. So earlier today, incredibly fantastic, infamous horror movie director Wes Craven died. And yeah, it's pretty much hit the horror and even film community quite hard because he's made some of the best horror movies of all time, and he's had a huge impact on the whole genre. So yeah, it's a shame that he's gone. He died of brain cancer. I don't know whether he kept it a secret or what, because I'd never heard it that he had it. So there's a huge possibility he kept it secret, and it's what happens. So yeah, I thought I should make a video talking about his films. Every director has bad films, and yeah, he did have a lot of bad films, sadly, but let's pretend that they don't exist. Let's talk about the good films. Films like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. He made the original Nightmare on Elm Street movie, which still to this day I think is one of the best horror movies, and really movies in general, ever made. It's a fantastic movie. It plays on something that everyone has to deal with, and it finds something scary that everyone can relate to, and it's a very psychological horror movie, and it's a really well made movie, really well directed and written, and all the performances are fantastic, and it's really scary. The effects for the most part still hold up to this day, although aren't as good as some of the sequels even. They're still really good, and it's a very well made, exciting, scary, and also at times fun horror movie. Something that Wes Craven actually did quite well. He managed to make horror movies that are scary, but you also have a lot of fun watching them in sort of like a sadistic sort of way, which I think are the best kind of horror movies. So Nightmare on Elm Street is one of the best examples of this, and it's, as I said, still to this day I think one of the best movies ever made. Definitely in my top 10 favourite horror movies and my favourite movies of all time. He also came back for New Nightmare, the only sequel he actually directed. I think he wrote a original script for Dream Warriors, the third one, and that was kind of used, but they rewrote it basically using his. It's a kind of a rough idea and copying bits and changing it. And I think New Nightmare is also a really fantastic horror movie. It's nice to see that he didn't just return to the franchise to make just a normal sequel. He came back and made a sequel that was unlike any of the other sequels, and is actually a really good standalone movie. It works as a horror movie, not just as a sequel. It really works. It's not really a sequel, to be honest. It's set in the real world, basically, where it's all about the actors, and that was a really smart idea, actually. Making a film all about, people always talk about the effect that horror movies have on the people who watch them, but no one really ever talks about the effect it has on the people who make them. And I thought that was a very interesting idea to look at over the film, and it is very good. I wouldn't say it's incredibly scary. It does have a few really great scares in there, some, not jump scares, but I mean like some really creepy, well done scenes. But for the most part, that film is just really interesting and a lot of fun, and I think that's one of his best films. And of course, another franchise he's most well known for making are the Scream movies. He directed all 4 Scream movies. I'm pretty sure he did. I know he definitely directed the first 2 and the 4th one. I'm pretty sure he did the 3rd one. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he did all 4. And again, I'm a huge fan of those movies. slasher movies were dead at that point. In fact, horror movies were really not doing well in the 90s. I think 90s may be possibly one of the worst decades for horror, although the 2000s pretty much were even worse. But then Scream came along and resurrected the slasher genre. Nightmare on Elm Street kind of breathed life into it and proved that it didn't have to be the same story over and over again, but Scream brought the dying genre back to life, and it went on for a few more years after that until now it's pretty much not being done at all. There are very few slasher movies coming out nowadays, although there are some good ones like You're Next still coming out. But yeah, and Scream is both a really good slasher movie and a really good parody. It makes fun of the slasher genre, and it's very, very self-aware, and it never really like takes itself seriously. It is basically a comedy, but it's not a film where you can watch it and you laugh at it. It's very hidden jokes basically, and there's like, I think Your Next kind of did a similar thing, but instead of making the jokes very hidden, a lot of their jokes were actually on the surface, things that you could actually laugh out loud to, whereas Scream didn't really do that. It's much more of a very dark comedy, so dark that you're not meant to think it's funny, you're meant to just think it's a horror movie. And if you don't know much about the slasher genre, then yeah, it just seems like a normal horror movie. But if you're very aware of the slasher genre, you can see the humour in it. You can see how it's making fun of the slasher genre. And the 3 sequels, I think, were pretty good as well. Especially the second and fourth one. I thought they were really, really fantastic horror movies. Really great sequels. The second one, I think the second one is a great... it does a great job of parodying slasher sequels, and I thought that was a really good, really smart way to do a follow-up. The third one was not a smart follow-up. That was not a very good movie to begin with. But yeah, that just, they instead of doing something else, they just decided to do the final film in a trilogy, which didn't really work really. And then the fourth one actually came back and did all like remakes and stuff, because it came out like 15 years later, and that was an even smarter thing. And yeah, I think the fourth one's a really underrated movie. Sadly, it was not a very popular movie. It is Wes Craven's final film actually, and it was not very popular, which is a real shame. I don't think everyone knows it exists, and those who don't haven't watched it because they don't think it's going to be very good, which is a shame. So I definitely say, if you haven't seen that movie, definitely watch it, because it is a really good movie. It's good that Wes Craven's final film was actually a good one, because before that he didn't really do any really good films in the 2000s and 90s apart from the Scream movies. So it's nice to see that he actually went out with something good. I think those are the only movies he's done that I've actually seen, to be honest. I will watch more of his films now he's dead. I was going to do it anyway, but now it just seems much more fitting than ever. There's films he did in the 70s like Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, which people constantly talk about how disturbing and dark they were, and yeah, I really want to watch them, and I will watch a load more of his movies. But yeah, it's definitely a shame that he's gone. He directed some of the best horror movies ever made. He has had a huge impact on the genre. He is very influential to a lot of horror directors, especially ones that grew up with films like Nightmare on Elm Street, and they're actually trying to make good horror movies. I'm not talking about people who just direct, straight to video shit, or the just found footage jump scare sort of thing. I'm talking about horror directors that are actually legitimately trying to make good, well-made, scary movies. They undoubtedly have a lot to owe to Wes Craven. So yeah, rest in peace. He directed a lot of great movies. You've had a huge impact on the horror genre, and it's a shame that you've gone. You could have directed some more really good movies, maybe not. 2000's not very good, but I'm glad at least Scream 4 was a good final film, so yeah. It's a shame I had to do this video. Didn't really expect to be doing it. Yeah, it was kind of a shock waking up this morning and hearing that news, but yeah. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys, and I guess I'll see you next time.